Hey guys, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in, coming back and watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you're doing well, staying safe, taking care of yourselves, all those kind of things. And if you're new here, I'm Jim. Great to meet you. Thanks for stopping by. I make tutorial videos here every week showing you how I edit my photos using various software products. I'm in Luminar AI again today, and I was playing around with a night shot, and I was able to quickly get from kind of a, I don't want to call it blah, but okay photo to something I really liked using just a few quick, simple tools in Luminar AI. So I thought I'd walk through kind of how to quickly make an impact on your night shots with Luminar AI. So here's my photo. This was a night shot in Piccadilly Circus in London. Love that town. And I'm going to hop over here to Composition AI. And the first thing I'm going to do is fix the verticals because they are kind of leaning back. And that's one of the things that happens with a wide angle lens is if you're shooting a broad scene, the elements like these buildings will look like they're leaning backwards. So I think that looks a whole lot better. And the next thing I'm going to do is straighten it a little bit. I think it needs a tiny bit of straightening. And then I'm also going to go ahead and crop it. I'm going to go 16:9. If you've been here any length of time, you kind of know that I love that aspect ratio. And I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to hit enter and I'm all done. Composition AI, I've loved it and just had a lot of fun with it. And you've probably, hopefully, seen my video about it. If not, you can check that out. But now that I've got my base photo ready to go, I'm ready to jump into the editing. So I'm going to go straight to the light tool. And the first thing I'll often do with night shots, and I'm talking about in cities, this is different than like shooting a night landscape or something, is I'll adjust the temperature. There's usually so many warm city lights, and depending on what the source is and where it is in the picture, I usually don't like it. I love the yellow red that's coming from the bus, of course, and I don't mind it on the buildings because it's small, but usually like street lights, for example, I don't like that a whole lot. So I'll usually take the temperature and go a little bit cooler. So I'm going to do something about like that, and then I'm going to bump up the temperature just a tiny bit as well. Sometimes I'll find that there's a tiny bit of kind of greenish, and just moving that tint to the right helps so much. Smart contrast, I'm going to do about a 35 or so, just kind of a medium adjustment, let's call it. And then highlights are going to come down pretty significantly, and that's something I often have to do as well in a night shot in a city, is tame those highlights. And so I think we've got a much better looking picture already. If you look at the before, now that obviously includes the vertical alignment and that sort of thing, but if you look at that versus this, I like the colors already. I think they're better. A little bit more work to do though. Now on a lot of photos, I'll use Enhance AI and go over here to Accent AI, but on night shots, I'll generally skip that unless it really just needs to be brightened some. But a photo like this, there's plenty of light, it's plenty bright. I don't want to do that, so I skip that tool. I'm gonna go straight to Structure AI, and I'm gonna go mid about maybe 35 or so. However, I'm gonna get the masking brush on this one because I don't want that applying everywhere. So I'm gonna click on that, and I'm gonna go to Erase, and I'm going to increase the size of my mouse, and I'm just going to erase it from the sky because I don't really care about structure being added to the sky. And while you can't see it too well, I just want to remove it because it also can start to look a little bit like noise. And so I don't want to do that. I want to keep the picture kind of crisp and clean. And I think that looks fine. You can always hit the / key to look at your mask, and I think that looks fine. So I'm going to hit / again and close structure because I'm done with that. Okay, next is color, and I often skip saturation, as you may have heard me say, but I love vibrance, and I want to give it a little bit of a kick, like a 10 or 12, nothing too much. I want to bring a little bit of color and vibrancy, hence vibrance, to the scene. But one thing I like to do with my night shots is go into this HSL, and you've got hue, saturation, and luminance. I'm going to stay on luminance, and I'm going to go to the blue, and I'm going to bring that down pretty significantly, like 75, 80, something like that. And you'll see what that does. Let me turn this off. So there it is before, and there it is after. That's darkened basically everything that's blue. That's what I did, is I removed or reduced the luminance in the blue. That impacts the sky. So if you look at before and after, the sky's darker, which I like. It's created a little bit more contrast in the image, which I think helps. And it's also just kind of reduced some visibility. Obviously your eye is generally drawn to things that are colorful and bright, and some of that sky is just a little bit too bright for me, so I think that helps. Also, if you notice this big TV screen on that building in the background, it had kind of a little bit of a blue halo, and reducing this blue luminance has taken that away, which I also think is less distracting, so that helped quite a bit. Okay, now I'm going to go down to landscape and get golden hour, and I'm going to give this like a 20, 22, something like that. Just kind of a soft little pop, and really all that's doing is counteracting some of the blues that are in the photo, and also giving a little bit of pop of warmth to the building, but also those streaks of light, which I just want to accentuate a little bit. And now I'm going to go to creative. I'm going to get mystical. And I love mystical. If you've seen videos before, you know I use it a lot. And if you have Luminar 4 or a previous version, you've probably used it a lot as well. I'm going to go about 15 or 20 here. And basically, it adds a little bit of contrast and a little bit of mood to the image. Some of the dark areas get darker. That's kind of what contrast is doing. So if I turn that off, there's before and there's after. Just a little bit of mood, just a little bit of contrast. I like it. I think it goes really well with night scenes in cities like this because the dark stuff, I'm not trying to create fully visible everything, all the shadows revealed and all that. I prefer to have shadow and keep that in the photo. I think it creates a little bit more visual interest, and that mystical helps kind of accentuate that contrast. The dark gets darker, the light gets a little bit lighter, and even though it's a light touch of 20, I still think it helps in this photo. Okay, so that's the base edits. Now I'm going to go to the local masking tool, which gives me a little bit more flexibility. I'm going to click add and click a basic or add a basic local mask, and you can see what it does for you. It gives you a number of different options here. And what I'm focused on here is really the street, that lower portion of the photo. So I'm going to go ahead and warm that up a little bit, about a 12 or so. And I'm actually going to bring the exposure down slightly. I don't want to darken it but a lot, but I want to bring it down a little bit. So again, right now everything's impacting the entire photo. I'm going to add a mask to apply this locally, but what I do is I make my adjustments focused, keeping my eyes focused just on the section I want to focus on, which is really the street. Make those adjustments and then go apply the mask. You could apply the mask first and then go make those adjustments. It doesn't matter. You can do it either way. I just tend to do it this way. A tiny bit of contrast, so maybe 10 or so. And then I'm going to add some AI structure, about 65, 70, something like that. Just want to crunch that up a tiny bit more. And now I'm going to go in here and get a gradient mask because gradients tend to draw basically a straight line. I'm going to click and drag that gradient mask, and it's going to go in something about like that. And then you can always, move it around. You can adjust the gradient zone. You can tilt it if you need to. I'm going to put it about right there. And if I hit the / key, you can see the area that's in red at the bottom is what's being impacted by this local mask. So I'm okay with that. I'm going to hit enter. And that's really it. I'm finished with my photo. So I can go back over here, and if I turn or click that eyeball, the before and after, you can see the before photo. Things are kind of leaning back. I think the verticals have been improved. I think the color, the mood, the overall contrast, and basically just the visual interest of the photo, I think has gone up significantly. Obviously, I'm biased because I just did the edit, but I think I've taken a photo that was kind of ho-hum and made it a little bit nicer. And if you look at the sliding window before and after, things are a bit different. Again, this is also showing the vertical alignment that I did, but I think overall the photo looks a little bit better. And if you can't tell, I'm trying to accentuate that streak of the bus that's going by. And honestly, getting light trails and things like that, especially passing buses for me, is kind of hit or miss. Sometimes they streak and they look really solid, and sometimes they just don't look as solid. This one's kind of light on that left-hand side. You can kind of see it up in there, but it's not significant. But I think over here, it looks great. And my eyes are definitely drawn into the photo. And in fact, I might come in, and I hadn't done this before, but I might come in with a vignette, place the center here where the bus is leading you down the street, and just increase the amount and the size, decrease that, and then maybe a little bit of inner light just to kind of pop that light there. And that kind of takes away some of the visual, visibility, I should say, into that far left side. I actually think I'm going to go a little less round and a little bit more feathering, which is what I typically like to do. And I think that helps a little bit. Darken a little bit of that left edge. Let me turn that off so you can see the before. Yeah, now that I look at it, it's a lot more distracting on that left edge because the building is so bright. And the after, I think that's better. Now my eye kind of goes with those two parallel, almost parallel lines that lead straight to that sign that says the city in Trafalgar Square, which, let me increase that. Right there, my eyes kind of go there, and then they want to kind of go to the right to follow that bus. So I think that vignette actually improved the photo. Wasn't part of my edit, but sometimes I do these things live and make decisions. Today's one of those days. But that's it overall. I just wanted to take a photo that was kind of ho-hum, that I liked but didn't love, and turn it into something I like a whole lot more. So that's it. Quick, simple tips on how to improve your night shots. I hope it gives you some ideas. Luminar AI, December 15th. It'll be in your hands. Thanks for watching, my friends. I really appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. Staying safe, and I'll see you really soon. Take care of yourselves out there, and adios.